Guess what time it is, everybody? It is time for Mickey in the Middle. Come on in, make yourself comfortable, make yourself right at home. We're going to have a good time tonight. We're going to talk about the promise of America. You know, America is a pretty good place to be hanging out. I like it. Hello, Greg Myers. Congratulations, gold medalist. First one to make a comment. I hope you and Maddie enjoyed your fish sticks. I love following you. Chef Maddie, if you're with Senior Greg Meyer, please do me a favor. Take care of your dad. He needs it. I think we all need somebody to take care of us, which is fantastic. Hello, Mark Calcaterra, coming in with a silver medal. That is absolutely brilliant. And Steve Hayes is on a run here. He's coming in with a bronze. And BK Hammer. Hello, BK. How are you? Oh, wait a minute. I'm supposed to have this on. Hold on. There you go. We'll be right back. That's right. I've got to run this for about a minute and a half with a little introduction. There's the Mickey in the Middle sign. That's me with my beautiful wife, Tanya. That's right, Operation 535 still in effect. We're going to vote all of Congress out. Everybody's going to love that. When we kick that into high gear, everybody's going to love that. Everybody's going to participate. It's going to be great. We're going to take our country and make it what it's supposed to be. Hello, Logan Calcaterra. Glad to see that you're with us. I can't believe that Steve Hayes and BK Hammer are hanging out together. That makes me so happy. Susie, welcome to the big show. Tonight we're talking about America. You're going to enjoy this. I think you're going to enjoy it. I'm trying to be entertaining. We'll see how it goes. Alrighty, one more time with the Mick and Ollie theme song, and here we go. Now let's do this. Hello, Don Ledger out in Arizona. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the big show. My name is Mickey, and this is Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for middle Americans, people that care about our country, just average, ordinary individuals that are trying to make a life for ourselves in the greatest land of opportunity the world has ever known. So thank you very much for spending a little bit of time with me tonight. I hope to be entertaining, and I hope to be the voice of reason as it relates to middle America, because I'm just a middle American. I'm just a person trying to make it like you through these wretched snowstorms, through these power outages, through the mess with the drainage system, the water systems, the sewage systems that are out there. It is one of those things that every once in a while we get kicked in the teeth, and then we find out what true Americans are made out of. I saw pictures earlier today of thousands of people volunteering to help their neighbors by distributing food, by distributing clothing, water, you name it, they were out there and everybody was trying to help. So if you're one of those people that have volunteered to help your neighbors, I salute you, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you taking care of your fellow Americans. So let's see. Jared Humphreys, that's a hero right there. Hey, Jared, how you doing? Welcome to the big show. All right, so I was sitting here today and I was thinking about what I need to talk about. And based on last night's television, or based on last night's show, which was about white privilege, there was a couple of things that I didn't have the opportunity to say, but I didn't want to cover the same stuff that I covered yesterday. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to say, what does America promise us? Does America promise you anything? Does America promise me anything? When I started thinking about this, I started putting in the context of a brand new baby that's born anywhere in the world. What government promises that child is kind of significant and important to the way that the kid grows up. Are they growing up in an autocratic society where there's only one person that's in charge and that one person gets to make all of the rules? Are they growing up in a communist society where the people that have been selected by the people get to rule with an iron fist, and they get to say how everything is run. They get to determine who gets jobs, who doesn't get jobs, who gets food, who doesn't get food, who's favored, who's not favored. If you take Russia and China and all that, they have bureaus of people that get to decide everything for all of the people, and they have only one voice. Or is it socialist, where socialism controls the means of production? And that means that you've got to figure out a way to fit into the production. And then inside of that, because somebody else is deciding how we're going to produce everything, if they decide what we're going to produce, then they also get to describe how it's going to be distributed. And I want you to think about this as it relates to growing up in the United States of America. Does America promise you anything? Does America promise me anything? Or is our government supposed to promise us anything? So these are the notes that I wrote, and that's what I'm going to do. And this is my very considered personal opinion on the subject. So the first thing is, I got to say that right now, I don't think that America promises you anything. I don't think that America is supposed to be promising you anything. I just can't believe popping out of the womb going, hey man, the country owes me something for being born. It's kind of ludicrous when you think about it, because we have a huge country, 320 million people, and the government doesn't have the ability to really promise you anything. Now, they put in a framework. Every country puts in a framework in which you have to exist. But can they really promise you security? Can they promise you food? Can they promise you water? Can they promise you sewage? Can they promise that you are going to be successful? Can they promise that they're going to give you everything you need, not even considering what you would be able to give back? And if you think about that in the framework of the rest of the world, are you or are you not on your own? Because I believe that everybody's on their own. I believe that we all are on our own. And in the worst of times, it comes right down to you having to rely on yourself. This winter storm is a perfect example. If you think about the winter storm that we just had and the preparedness by the people to be ready, some people were very, very ready. Other people were totally caught off guard. And then when the power went out, everybody assumes that the power is always going to be there. Everybody's always going to assume that they're going to have water and sewage and heat, and that this is just going to show up magically. It's just going to be there. Well, what happens when it's not? Down when they had the Hurricane Katrina down in Louisiana, where I'm from, all of a sudden, all basic services were cut off from everybody. And people only had themselves, their family, and their neighbors to survive in rising floodwaters with no electricity, no heat, no air conditioning, no access to food. Have you seen the pictures on the news lately about the empty shelves? About gas stations not having any gas, about not being able to travel because of the snow and the ice because the government couldn't clear enough roads fast enough, about electrical systems in hospitals shutting down so that if you injured yourself, not only could the hospital not provide the services to you, but they couldn't even get you to a hospital. That's the way that life is. And it's like that all over the world. So when we start saying, well, the government has promised me that they are going to take care of me, that's false. That's a bunch of pure BS. They don't have the ability to do that, nor do they have the ability to promise that. So what has America promised us? At the basic level, inside this little book that I've always carried with me, which is the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America, there are certain things that they can guarantee you. But all of these directly apply straight to you. It's not about any promises. It's only about the protection that they can give you so that you can take care of you, so that you have the ability to take care of your family. I'll take the first one. The fact that you have the right to say anything in the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, but having the ability to talk and to talk to your neighbors and to be able to get a plan together and say, hey, the government's great, the government's not great, I like the schools, I don't like the schools, hey, look here, the electrical system is going to be broken, I have the right to go out and do everything for myself. So the framework and the understanding that we have in the United States of America is that they will give you the framework for only you to take care of you, and that you can interact with other people based on a free trade system, whether it's for food, whether it's for electricity, whether it's for a place to live, and then you have the right to ownership. So because you can own things and you can take care of yourself, that's incumbent upon you to do that in times of toil and trouble and just all kinds of bad things. And, you know, it's kind of sad that we find ourselves in a position where a once-in-a-lifetime storm comes rolling in, and everybody immediately looks to the government rather than looking to the assets that are close to them. Friends, neighbors, people with fireplaces, people with generators, people with RVs. You know, my dad and I, we had a plan. You know, our first plan was a fallback to a position with somebody else that had a generator running off of natural gas. And then we were going to survive in vans because we filled them up with gas because we had it, private. You pull them outside of a garage, you fire them up, and you turn on the heat every half an hour in order to stay alive, long enough to stay alive. Of course, it's going to be me, my dad, my dog, probably about 10 or 12 neighbors. But I have 7 seats in my van, so it'd be able to work out. So, Plug was ready. Hey, Plug, glad to see you. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. We are, as Jared Humphreys just said, the land of opportunity. We're the land of opportunity, not the land of promises. When we look at ourselves and what has been promised by our country keeps taking it upon themselves to promise more and more and more from our country to people. I want you to think about that. The government is making more promises to more people, but you have to ask yourself, where do those people get the promises from the government? Where does the government get the money to promise for all of these programs down to the people? Well, it has to come from other people. That's the way the system works. Successful people pay taxes. Those taxes go to government programs, and the government programs can redistribute those to people in the forms of promises. And right now, down at the border, a lot of people are forming down on the southern border, and I don't want this to make this about immigration or anything, but all of the people that are down on the border are like, hey, look here, the government is promising us things. They're going to house us, they're going to feed us. Why don't we go up there? Because you have the opportunity to do that wherever you are. And you don't have to come to the United States, but when the United States government makes more promises to people that are outside of our country or in the lower economic statuses than the rest of us, then it means that the rest of us have to support that. And the promises that are coming are being made with your money rather than you having the opportunity. That was what made America great. When everybody immigrates to the United States, it's a promise of opportunity, that you can own something, that you can build something, that you can take care of your friends, your neighbors, that you can employ other people. But we're raising our kids up with these promises that are going to be delivered by somebody else rather than teaching our children to be self-sufficient and rely on themselves. Plug right there. He writes books. He's a historian. He was in the United States military. He's taken an incredible life in the United States military and he's turned it into a business in which he can prosper and that he can share his information with the rest of the world based on the history of the United States of America. It's incredible. Steve Hayes down there in Florida. He is a subcontractor to a couple of companies and they pay him to fly all over the world. And when he's not doing that, he's retired out of the United States military down there in Florida. But we all have to make it. We all have to figure out what they're telling our kids is, hey, you get this education and somebody owes you a job. Well, no, nobody owes you a job. The government doesn't owe you a job. I don't owe you a job. They're expecting somebody else to provide jobs for all of these kids. And they're like, well, this is the way that we do it. Rather than teaching the kids that you are promised nothing, you have to go figure out your own way to go. The only thing that we have is a framework of guaranteed constitutional rights in which you can operate. And those rights say that you have the right to say whatever you want. You have the right to religion. You have the right to security through the Second Amendment. You have the right to not have the government come into your stuff. You can own property. You can own things. As soon as you start breaking that down and you start making promises to other people, you realize that the government is writing checks that they can't cash. People have this expectation that when they get out of high school or get out of college, that somebody owes them a job. Well, my question is who? My question is who owes them a job? You know? When Jared says we are the land of opportunity, that's all that we are. Greg Meyer says, it seems we transition to having to count on our neighbors and provide for our neighbors and friends. What is our tax money doing and what's it going for? Well, that's what my point is. That's one of my points, right? So we pay into this system and they are promising these things, but they can't always deliver those things. So we have to fall back on ourselves. But the Texas grid is one of 3 grids in the United States of America. And I guarantee that the people there did not want this to happen and they didn't see this coming. But it was a promise that was made and there's no way to actually make that happen. Mark Vallejos says, provide for the common defense is a government role. Yes. There are very, very few roles that are outlined in the Constitution of the United States of America that says that the government has these specific responsibilities. They have the responsibility to protect our country. They have the responsibility of making sure that trade takes place between the states. They have the responsibility now of collecting taxes for better purposes and to make the government function. We have to have a federal government so that we can work out treaties and how we're going to treat the rest of the world. We have to have the ability to communicate, but that's not guaranteed in the Constitution. You only have the right to say what you want to say. You have to figure out how that is going to be communicated because they don't promise you Google. They don't promise you the phone lines. They don't promise all of this other stuff. All of the stuff that we live in had to be invented by people. The government can only give you a framework in which to operate, and we call it the free market system, where good ideas flourish and bad ideas get thrown on the trash heap of history. So thank you very much. Protecting the Bill of Rights is one of the things that the government also does through our court system. Thank you very much, Mark. So our court system is one of the few things that our government promises, and that says that everybody will be treated the same and fairly, which relates back to yesterday's show. When it relates back to white privilege, black privilege, pretty privilege, and everything, justice is blind. When something goes to the court system is supposed to be blind. It's not supposed to make any promises. It's supposed to judge things on the law, on previous decisions, and they're supposed to make not an equitable decision. They're supposed to say what is congruent with the law and in fairness, based on the merits of the case and whether somebody has done something wrong or whether somebody has done something right. And that's all supposed to be based on the laws that Congress makes. The judges are not supposed to be making up rules to make things fair or to make things equitable. Congress is not supposed to make laws that make things that are fair and make things that are equitable. They're supposed to level the playing field, so it doesn't matter what your background is, what race, what creed, what religion, whatever your background is. They're supposed to just give everybody the same opportunities, and that's the way that laws are supposed to be written. Inside of that framework, we have free trade and the capital system. So there's no accountability for failure. Greg, I agree that it is very, very tough to get accountability out of a system where people are protected with limited liability laws that protect our legislatures, our governors, our mayors, the Congress people, the President of the United States. The only thing that we can do is we have two things. We have the ability to vote with our dollar, where we shop, where we don't shop, and the ability to vote people in and vote people out. Inside of the structure of that, Congress has created these huge behemoth bureaucratic machines like the Department of Education, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Commerce, the Department of this, that, and the other thing. And then those people are not held accountable at all. At all. So those folks are protected. The people in the bureaucratic system are protected. Our legislators are protected. And then once again, it boils down to they make no promises that they can actually keep, so that we have to rely on ourselves. And when we realize and we start teaching our children that they have to rely on themselves in order to make it in this world, and that they need to treat everybody with fairness and equitability and treat everybody with common decency and respect, and that all people are created equal with certain unalienable rights, and that their rights don't trump your rights because of race, religion, creed, color, whatever. Now all of a sudden we can get somewhere where we can move forward. I was going to use the example last night about what is fair. What is fair in America? America is a pretty fair place. And let me demonstrate. Let's say that you and me and somebody else of any color, of any religion, of anything, go out and we go in our backyard, or we find a place of land and we start a garden. That right there is a level playing field. Whatever you get out of the garden is incumbent on your own ability to work the ground, to till the soil, plant the seeds, fertilize it, and get fruit, if you will, get a crop out of the things that you planted. That's the way that it is. And that's what we should be teaching our children about. What are they planting and what are they growing? And then how can they take advantage of that? If you can start a business, that's like planting a garden. And that's independent of what your background is. It only has to do with your education and your ability to go and grow the soil. It doesn't have anything to do with fairness or equity or anything else. But when you start a business, everybody has to figure out how to market the business and then how to reap a profit from a business. You know, what we have today in America is pretty incredible. We have the ability to go out and make a living and be totally anonymous inside of the business. I want you to think about all of the businesses that you have gone to in the last month. If they are other than a sole proprietor or one-person business, you may or may not know the person that is running that business, the owner of the business. If you go and you search online, there's no requirement that ever says that you have to identify who you are, what racial mix you are, what your background is, what religion you are, where you're from. The internet can be totally anonymous. You go and you get yourself a website, you start a web store. Some of the biggest web stores in the world are owned by people that nobody knows. You can start a business and hire somebody else to stand at the counter and take orders. That's the beautiful thing about America. That's what America promises. America promises the fact that you can go out and you can go do you independent of what your history, what your background, or what your race, creed, color, religion, or anything else happens to be. Let's see what everybody else. OPM, other people's money. Right. I'm going to tell you, I used this last night in my example. The only person that I have ever given money to in a business, a large sum of money that I expected a profit in return, was somebody that I highly respected, that I knew for years, and that I trusted enough. And it was totally independent of whatever that person's background was. It didn't rely on race. I just knew him, I trusted him, and I said, I'm going to go do this, and we're going to profit together in this. And we did. Because I'm willing to give everybody else a fair shake. I'm willing to check my bias. I'm willing to operate in a free market capital society, and I'm sure that most of my friends, 99.9% of my friends, operate the exact same way that I do. So America's not going to promise you anything, but they can give you the framework in which you can be successful. And when you take your skills and you put it together with OPM, as Mark says, other people's money, and then you leverage their ideas, you leverage their experience, you take what you know, all of a sudden maybe you can build something together. But America is not going to promise you anything. So let me make sure that the government messes up the framework through special interests and a circular system of people contributing to a political campaign, which gets people elected, which rolls down into special interest money being distributed back to the organizations which originally gave the money. That's just the way that it works. One of the industries, what's the number? Gas and oil over the last 20 years have given $2.3 billion to our politicians and political campaigns. They are expected to get 10 times the value back from every dollar they spent in special interest money for our politicians. $2.3 billion. And then the oil and gas industry is going to get that back. And here's what the thing is. They're number 5 on the list for people that contribute to political campaigns and our politicians. You know who's number 1? Big farm and medical companies. I think that their number is $4.5 billion in the last 22 years. That's not right. All right, so the courts have been solid for the most part, and they have ensured that we have a level playing field ever since the 1960s. Law provides inequities, favors special interests, billions in kickback. They protect monopolies. And then you have what about you? And then what are we teaching our kids? We got to teach our kids to be self-sufficient, rely on themselves. So we got a great country, but it's only a framework, and it's relying upon them to go out and make it in the world. They've got to go plant their own garden, and if they do it in the right way, then they will be successful in America. They just have to want to go out and do it inside of the framework that is provided by the United States of America. So, with that being said, buy more Bitcoin, says Steve Hayes. I'm not an advisor, but I'm going to tell you right now, Bitcoin is an absolutely fantastic concept about taking money supply away from the government agencies and taking it and put it into a neutral platform that is accessible to everyone through the electronic mediums. It's an incredible concept. But once again, it gets into currency markets, and I cannot tell you whether I own any Bitcoin, whether I don't own any Bitcoin, whether Riot, which is a medium for Bitcoin to operate, or Ethereum, or whatever the heck that is, to operate. So be careful out there. Take care of yourself. Make sure that you're investing wisely with good information and good education so you can make smart decisions. Mark, thank you very much. I will. The government can't give you anything more than they have already taken from you. And I'm going to end with that. From Mark, the government cannot give the people anything more than they have already taken from the people. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight. I want to let you know, Mickey in the Middle, every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central, right here wherever I am, and right there wherever you are. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, on Rumble, on Parler whenever they get their stuff back up, and I'm on WeMe. So like, share, ring the notification bell. That way you'll know when I'm up. This is Mickey in the Middle. Please be careful out there. Have a great weekend. Try to stay warm. Try to help your neighbors. Try to live your life as a human being with character. Respect all others. Be inclusive. Be loving. There you go. So everybody having hey, me and BK sending love back out to Steve and BK down there in Florida. Out to you too, Don, and everybody else that's watching. Love you. Thank you very much for your time and attention. And remember, everybody, live, laugh, and love. Peace.